Great. All right. So I am here with Pastor Leroy Offenkamp. And fun fact, we are both at our first full-time pastorate.
That's right.
But there is a difference between us two in that you have been at your church for how long?
In October will be 39 years.
39 years. So what? I can't do math in my head.
But we came October of 1980
Okay.
to Drayton.
So that is a very long time. And
Well, for you, it's longer than you've been living, probably.
That's true. That is true. By about a little over a decade, actually. Yeah. That's what. There's so many questions you can go there, I guess, and see what's been a benefit of the longevity of being there.
I think really the greatest benefit is outside of my church. Well, the church too. The people have gotten accustomed to me and they accept my ministry. But in the community, I think people have grown to trust me, and they'll allow me to talk. They may not believe what I say, but they will allow me to share my thoughts and my beliefs on things, and they will oftentimes ask me various things. So, yeah, I think in the community has been very, and it seemed like as time has gone on, I've had greater opportunity to share Jesus with people because now they just know who I am and they trust me. Yeah,
that's good. Has there been any challenges to being there that long?
I don't think there are any challenges to having been there. Well, if I could say this, I guess there's always that tendency to want to just start to get lax, if that's a challenge.
Yeah.
But I think I have been able to avoid allowing that to happen. If I feel like it's starting to, I kind of buckle down and try to re-energize myself. Because I don't want to ever get to the point where and this has been a fear of mine, is that I stay there just because I'm comfortable, and and as I get older and get closer to a time when I have to retire, that I've said, well, I got to have a job, I got to have money coming in, so I'm just going to stay here and just write it out until the end. And I don't want that to happen. And so I just want to have a passion for ministry. I think in a lot of ways I think it's greater now than it has been, actually.
That's good. Is it, so as long as you can keep that passion going, would this be a place where you would want to get to that point of retirement and just be at the same place, or if the Lord will let you, type of thing?
Yeah, I don't really look at it in those terms.
Okay.
I want to always be ready to move, but Bev kind of thinks we're either going to be here till we die or till Jesus comes.
Yeah.
And it kind of seems that way now.
Yeah.
I guess I would be comfortable, but I don't know. I just don't want to outlive my usefulness here in Drayton. As long as I feel like I can be useful. In fact, several years ago, we were going through a pretty rough time in the church. We were losing some people, and I actually asked the board, do you think I still have a viable ministry here in this church?
Yeah.
And in the community? And they didn't want me to quit or move, so stuck with me, and things have turned around for us pretty good.
Yeah. So what, we're coming to that. Well, it just seems like in ministry, when it comes to ministry, that no matter what level you're at, there just seems to be a transition time where, like for a lot of pastors, we're around like 4 or 5 years or so. They say, okay, it's time to move on.
Well, in fact, I remember I was at 7 years, and I had a friend of mine who was in the southern part of the state, and he'd been there the same length of time, and he actually used the time frame of 7 years. He said that it seemed like after 7 years people want to start moving on. And I actually, somewhere in that span of time, I did look seriously at moving. We went down into, where was it? Nebraska.
Okay.
Western Nebraska, and looked at a church, and they actually voted me in, and I turned them down.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
And I don't know if that's because, sometimes I wonder, was that because I was afraid to move? Or because God really wanted me to stay, but I did end up staying.
Yeah.
But it was like that period of time. And speaking of the 4-year thing, my home church down in Nebraska, we never had a pastor stay over 4 years.
Yeah.
And usually
Wow.
the shortest period of time was a year and a half, 18 months. Now he left because he wanted to go into evangelistic work.
Yeah.
Otherwise it was 2 or 3 years.
Yeah.
And I thought when I went to Drayton, that's what I thought I would do as well, be here 2 or 3 years and it would go on, because that was my history of pastor. I would have never guessed that I'd stay here.
Yeah. What I've heard Cal Thompson say this before, when it comes to being a youth pastor, that they should set out as a goal to remain in one location for a period of someone going through freshman to senior year. So like about 4 years. What would your recommendation be? Like someone that's getting ready to start at a new church, what should be their goal? I mean, of course, you want to listen to God's will, and if He's calling you out sooner or later, but what should be a goal?
Well, I personally, I think you should go with the idea that I'm going to stay here forever. But I think if you leave after 2 or 3 years, you really are leaving just about the time when you can really begin to touch people. I would think 5, 6, 7 years.
Okay.
I wouldn't get in a hurry to move.
Okay.
Well, let me just add this, because there's you have a space of time at the very beginning when everybody loves you, and then you start they start showing some of their true colors, and then maybe they begin to see you different, because you're not perfect either. And so you go through this time of stress and strain, and I just feel like if you can work your way through that and everybody still be happy, that you can set yourself up for a much longer period of time. But a lot of times I think that pastors start going through some stress and they just say, I gotta go somewhere else where it's not so hard. Instead of fighting through it. And you don't want to, and I say fighting, I don't mean vicious. It's just more
pushing
through it. Because if you start fighting, then you kind of lost the battle already.
What would you say, when it comes to the rural setting, what would you say is about that range for time when so you're after that like honeymoon phase when you first start, and then after the true colors, that the community, not so much the church, but the community starts accepting you as
I don't know for sure. I think for me it really started after I started farming. Which is, I came in fall of 80, and it was in the spring of 89 when I started working on a farm. And I think at least from the farmer aspect, they began to look at me differently. As far as the community, I probably, when I went there, I was very unsure of myself. I was very shy. I just had just no confidence in. I didn't know what I was doing. So I probably didn't reach out into the community as well as I should have. And that, I don't know, that just kind of grew over time. One of the things, my church started giving me a certain amount of money every month to go up to the restaurant and visit with people. And so then I started doing that, and that helped to get myself out into the community.
That's good.
But over the years, I would go visit people in the hospital, even if they weren't from my church. I'd go visit people in their homes, various places who weren't part of my church, just because I thought that they needed it, and without making any advertisement about that, people just started hearing about that, and then I began to hear that people really liked me doing that. Because when if I'd go to the hospital, I would never say anything about my church. I would not try to entice them to come to my church. I just was there to encourage them and minister to them. And I don't think I've ever had a negative. Well, I just take it back to one person. But we got that worked out.
That's good. So you kind of, in a sense, you became the community pastor.
I never use that term myself. But I've had, and I don't know that my church people have very much, but I've had numerous people in the community call me that. And they will very, very quickly say that I'm the community pastor. And in fact, 2 or 3 years ago, one church brought in a new minister, and when I met him, he said, "Oh, I hear you're the community pastor." So that's kind
Yeah.
of interesting.
Yeah.
And he didn't say it in a negative way.
Yeah, yeah.
That's just what he'd been told.
That's good. All right. Well, any final words or anything for someone who, when it comes to longevity, maybe like a tip or encouragement? Or...
Yeah. Well, I would say be ready to stay, but I don't think, for myself, I don't really think that it is a great thing to stay in one place your whole career. I used to think, I can remember thinking, well, it'd be nice to stay 25 years and then 30 years would be nice. But I have concluded that is no great objective. If I'm not doing anything, well, all I'm doing is just staying in one place.
Yeah.
So my greatest objective is just, encouragement would be, wherever you are, whatever you're doing, do it to your best and try to reach people for Jesus, and minister to people. And if you can keep doing that, you can maintain a passion for your community. And if God starts leading you another direction, that's fine. But I wouldn't get in a rush to stay, but I wouldn't be in a rush to. I wouldn't get in a rush to leave, but I wouldn't be in a rush to stay either.
Okay.
Just try to hear from God.
Yeah.
Because everybody's not. God doesn't want everybody to stay as long as I have.
Yeah.
Maybe He just knew I just couldn't handle anywhere else, or nobody else could handle me. I don't know.
Yeah. Okay.
But we've seen more people come to Jesus in the last few years, and just the last handful of years, than all the other times in my ministry.
Wow. That's good.
So for me, it just took a long time, but it's coming around. And I think you talk about small towns. I think small towns and farming communities are kind of hard to reach people because they're very set, and they don't necessarily just trust everybody that comes in, but they've got to trust me.
Yeah, that's good.
They may not like my church, as far as I don't mean that in a negative way.
Yeah.
But they might not want to come to my church, but they trust me.
They're willing to talk with you, have a cup of coffee, and stuff like that.
And talk about their needs.
Yeah, that's good. Well, thank you for allowing me to do this.
You bet.
Share that.
That was kind of fun.
I hope for those of you who are watching this and you're pastoring here and you're thinking, well, how long am I supposed to be here? I think ultimately what we're hearing is if the Lord is using you for ministry, then
don't be in a rush to leave, and don't be in a rush to stay.
Yeah. So, but thank you again. I appreciate that. And you guys have a blessed day and keep serving the Lord there.
That's right. That's good.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Yep.